Well, today's an exciting one. This is the all-new 2022 Toyota GR86. As many of you know, I owned a BRZ for 6 years, 60,000 miles, enjoyed every minute in it, and this is the new GR86. We have 228 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. We have a 2.4-liter boxer 4-cylinder engine, replacing the outgoing 2-liter. We have much less of a torque dip. We have some power. This car that we're driving today has the 6-speed manual transmission, and it's the premium package. So a little over $30,000. I don't have exact pricing yet, but we'll get that and put it in the description. We have a lot of really nice features and improvements and updates to this new GR86. So let's start off. Let's walk you around the outside and show you some of the new design elements, because this car does look really good. In the previous generation, I felt like the Subaru BRZ was the better looking one. In this new generation, I think the Toyota has the upper hand. We have 18-inch wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, a very grippy setup, not as maybe fun to drive on as the standard 8.6 with the Michelin Primacies, but a very capable and confident setup nonetheless, and it does look better on these 18s. Love this color. We've been driving this GR86 all day on the track, having a lot of fun, having a bit of a hoon, and this is my first opportunity to drive it on the street. So very excited to share some first impressions with you guys. There are a lot of notable updates to this car. It has a slightly longer wheelbase. It's a little bit lower. We have some improved airflow dynamics up front. There is a little bit of an intake right here and an exit area that reduces a high pressure zone under the wheel. Probably also aids in brake cooling too. We've had this out on Monticello Raceway all day long today. Brakes in standard form have been perfect. Pretty amazing stuff. Let's pop the hood, take a look at that new 2.4-liter boxer 4-cylinder. We get slightly worse fuel economy in this, unfortunately, than the outgoing Toyota 86, but it makes up for it in power and fun to drive nature. We now have a standard oil cooler. Looks like water to oil, and it's kept the cars very cool all day long, which is very nice. This 2.4-liter boxer looks very similar to the outgoing 2-liter under the engine bay. Not much has changed. It's a great engine. It's very accessible, easy to work on, easy to tune and modify. That's why I love this car. It keeps it simple. They haven't messed with the formula. They've just refined it. And this new GR86 is a lot of fun to drive. It has brand new all LED daytime running lights and headlights. I like the blacked out mirrors. I like the shape of this car. It's really sharp. Really the only parts I recognize from the old Toyota 86 is the door handle, and the roof is kind of the same shape, even though that might have been refreshed a little bit. We've got a nice fin up there for satellite radio. Toyota's done their best to lower this car's center of gravity. They've even gone as far as putting the license plate on the bottom of the bumper, and whatever that's worth, I think it actually looks a little bit better this way. Let's take a look inside the trunk. We've got a button right here to pop it, reverse camera. Very familiar looking opening. Looks like the floor is a little bit higher than the old Toyota 86. The rear seats still fold down, and there is room for a spare tire in there, though this one is not equipped with it. You've got a little bit more storage space instead. Love this duckbill spoiler. Looks really sharp, looks really good. Let's hop inside and see what the interior looks like, because there's a lot of changes in there too. We're not going to spend too much time walking you around all the new features, specs, changes. I just want to get in this and tell you guys what it's like to drive. The back seats are pretty much unchanged from the last generation. They still look the same. You can fit small friends, adults, kids back there without any problem, but it is still a little bit tight. We've got a new door design here, a much more spacious cup holder, and a little bit of a handle here. I love this Alcantara insert at the top of the door panel. Makes it feel a little bit more upscale, a little bit nicer in this interior. And it looks like the steering wheel is pretty much taken from the old Toyota 86, though I love the leather that's on this. It feels really nice. It reminds me of the same leather that's on the Supra steering wheel. It feels a lot more premium. That carries into the gauge cluster too. Not sure if you noticed the startup sequence with this car when it's first started up. Let's do it again, actually. Show you guys one more time. So you turn it off, you get a little GR logo that spins and disperses, and then when you start it, make boxer piston motions with the graphics, and then it starts up. You get a couple different drive modes. You've got normal drive mode and track will change the gauge cluster into this kind of progressive rev counter, which is nice. 2,000 to 4,000 RPM is pretty much normal looking, and then 5 to 7, you get a much higher resolution display, so you can really see where you are in the power band. I like that a lot. You also get an oil temperature and coolant temperature display that just automatically pops up, and you can also set your lap times right here, which is very cool. There's a little lap timer down there. You can fully disable traction and stability control, and you might even still be able to do the pedal dance. I haven't tried. We have a new infotainment. Seems like it works pretty well. Taken straight out of what looks like a Subaru. We've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, a home button. We'll test out the sound system in this a little bit later. I believe this is an 8-speaker premium audio system. It doesn't look like it's been branded, but should sound pretty decent. Hopefully it can be an improvement on the last generation sound system, which wasn't much to write home about. We've got a blacked out shifter, which looks pretty good. Different shifter mechanism in this new GR86. Still a mechanical handbrake, joy of joys. I love the GR start-stop button, and these temperature gauges look really cool. Still physical controls, buttons, and knobs for all this stuff. I love it. They haven't changed anything. And I don't know, I think this dashboard looks a little bit nicer. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it in photos, but I really like it sitting in this cockpit. I feel like I'm in a sports car. Everything feels like it's kind of up towards my chest, yet we still have very good visibility. All right, let's take this thing for a drive, see what it's like on the road. We've got a little bit of a drive route here in Monticello, New York. Nothing familiar like I have at home, but we'll see what we can do, get some first impressions on this. I'll show you guys a reverse camera here. Nothing too new for the Toyota 86. Moving lines, nice resolution. Pretty much all you need in a sports car. I mean, you know, this has all the modern amenities. Apple CarPlay, reverse camera, a great powertrain. All right, let's hit the road. The clutch pedal is a little bit lighter than the previous Toyota 86. It's still easy to modulate, maybe has slightly better feel. The catch point is very low when you take off. These seats are still manual, but they have much larger bolsters on your legs and your back. Around track today, they've done a really good job keeping us well planted in the seat, and yeah, this car is very comfortable, very nice to drive. Easy to rev match downshift, easy to heel toe. Looks like the pedals are pretty much the same as the last generation. The shifter does feel really good. It's a lot more positive, a lot easier and more confident to engage in the right gear, especially in spirited driving, especially on the track today. We have new turn signal stalks. So this is not a traditional turn signal stock, it's just like the old BMW turn signals, which I'm not crazy about, but I guess it works. Something different to get used to. And let's feel that new torque. So much better. Gone is the power dip. Gone is the slow Toyota 86. And now we actually have something that feels like a sports car, that feels like it has a balanced power band and balanced torque curve. We have a slightly different engine sound. I'm not 100% sold on it. I don't love it, if I'm being perfectly honest. It sounds a little bit fake, and it is. It's piped in through a speaker. However, it is its own individual speaker, and it's something that could feasibly be disconnected if you wanted to, or Toyota could maybe include a button someday to turn it off if you just wanted natural engine sound. So, not a huge deal in my mind. There is torque everywhere now, 2,500 RPM. I mean, this has peak torque now at 3,700 RPM, whereas before it was around 6,600 RPM. That's crazy. It's a really big difference. This car is a lot more drivable, a lot more enjoyable on the road, and I think it's all the better for having this new 2.4 liter boxer 4-cylinder. Let's see what it can do here. Get a shift beep at redline. You can program that, and I believe you can also turn it off. There's a little startup procedure where you can get into that menu and see what you want to do with it. I have not driven this on the street yet, just on the track, and getting a car out on the road is a much different experience than driving flat out 10/10ths all day on a race course. Ride quality is excellent. They've really stiffened this car up quite a bit, but the ride is still very supple and very controlled and very comfortable. This isn't the smoothest road, but it's not also the bumpiest road, and it seems to be handling all the impacts very well. Love this torque. Oh, this car feels so much better. This is how the FRS, the BRZ, should have been from the beginning. A nice linear power band. You can actually, there's a screen in here where you can actually see the torque curve. And there's still a little bit of a dip, but you barely notice it. Brake pedal feels great, really nice and stiff. Easy to heel toe downshift. Big improvement with this shifter. I just have a lot more confidence with it. It feels a little bit smoother, a little bit more refined. The old shifter was great, don't get me wrong, but it felt a little bit gruff sometimes, and this is a big improvement on that. Cabin seems pretty quiet. Again, we're not cruising on the highway and we're on pretty nice pavement, but these Michelins are very quiet. The fact this is on 18 doesn't seem to impede or hurt ride quality. I'm in a little bit of a conundrum because I think I still prefer the way the base model GR86 drives with the Michelin Primacies. It's just the perfect amount of grip and slip. It's beautifully balanced. The extra traction they've gotten out of this chassis with stiffening and bracing it and tweaking the suspension really makes those tires handle a lot better than they used to on the old Toyota 86. And I feel like these Michelins are there's almost too much grip from them. They're really nice tires, but you really have to push hard on track to get sideways or on the street to get any, drift action out of this thing, whereas the Primacies are about perfect. But I love the way this premium looks, and it still drives really well. You can go out, get yourself a set of 17s and Michelin Primacies, and this would almost just be the perfect Toyota GR86 in my mind. This is also still a pre-production car, so we may see some changes, who knows. Seems like a lot of people share my sentiments about the piped-in sound today. Hopefully they will add a way to turn that off in the future. And for those early adopters where maybe that isn't an option, you can probably disconnect it and or pull a fuse. This is still such a fun car to drive. It really comes alive on the street. It's a lot of fun to drive on the track. This is one of those cars that you can get, learn rear-wheel drive in, and really just progress with the car. You can modify it. Gazoo Racing is coming out with a bunch of performance parts for this new 86, from intakes to exhausts to lighter wheels, a lot of different options. I feel like they kind of missed out a little bit on the aftermarket in the previous generation car, and they're going to capitalize on it with this new GR86. Let's put us into track mode, show you that different rev counter. Got some great driving roads out here in the Catskills. This is a really nice evolution of the last car. It's just, they've done all the right things. They've improved the suspension in ways that I didn't think was possible. They've added fun to drive characteristics and more grip and more capability to this car. while also retaining its pure feel. I think the old car sounded a lot better, even though it never really sounded that great to begin with. This just, the fake noise doesn't do it for me. But we've already talked about that. I think you can turn it off. Otherwise, I don't know, there's a few changes here, like the turn signals, the interior design. In person, I love the way this car looks and feels. This interior is definitely a lot more special than the last interior. It doesn't feel as bargain basement, it doesn't feel as sub $20,000 car. It definitely is a much more premium feeling cabin. That's down to the leather on the steering wheel, the look and design of everything, and the materials that are in here. Finally, the GR86 is fun to drive on a back road because it has torque. It can rocket out of corners at 3,000 RPM, whereas before you'd have to rev it out to around 6 or 5,500 to get any power out of it. Oh man, we're getting children at play signs here, and I feel like a child at play. Oh, 3,000 RPM, you get a nice torque bump. And you can see it right there on the dyno graph. They put that in the last generation Toyota 86, and I felt like it was such a shameful thing to have that torque dip in there. And this is just as linear as it gets. It's beautiful. Oh, traction control turned on there again. Didn't mean for that to happen. And we're off. So, final thoughts on the new 2022 Toyota GR86. I like this car a lot. It is a blast to drive. It is an evolution, a proper evolution of the previous generation car. I think they've made a lot of changes here that are going to go a long way to improve upon the platform and improve upon the chassis. They looked at what people were doing in the aftermarket, and I think they saw some opportunities to improve power output, improve handling, improve control. There are lots of little tiny changes here that really start to add up the more you drive this car. It's a complete ride on the track. Just a couple little small gripes that I have about this car that I think are easily fixed. We have all the modern tech and amenities that you could want out of your two-seater sports car, or I guess this is a 2+2, but those rear seats don't really function for much more as a bench, at least in my experience. This is still the driver's car that it's always been, and they haven't ruined it, which is great news for everyone, including me. Am I going to buy one? Is that the biggest question here? I don't know. I kind of want to wait and see what the 400Z is like. I've always wanted an S2000, but this is such a compelling option in the marketplace. It's practical, it's pretty efficient, it's fun to drive, super reliable. We had these things out on track all day, and not one skipped a beat. It's a great looking car in this new iteration. We've got a much better chassis, and guys, the power is just, this is how it always should have been. It feels like a sports car. It's so much more fun to drive. I'm going to show you a couple more things around the interior when we wrap up and park this, but until then, let's do a quick sound system test and see what the sound system is like in this premium package. on first impressions, a big improvement in terms of audio quality. The bRED and Toyota 86 used to have a pretty crappy sound system, and this is much better. You can even get an accessory, a subwoofer for the rear, like trunk area, and that'll give you a little more bass, and it's easily removable if you want to take it out for a track day, throw some tires in the back. Alright, so there's the new GR86. A couple more things I wanted to show you on the interior here. We had a very similar button situation here in the previous car. Not much has changed there. This is all about the same. They have done away with the little change/phone holder in front of the shifter here. I never really put anything in there anyway, so no love lost. Still a similarly sized glove box. This center area is a little bit different, and I personally think, yeah, I can fit a couple cups in here, but there's really no good place to put your phone in this car without it rattling around. You've got this cup holder right here, you've got this side armrest, but if you're doing any side-to-side driving, you're gonna need some type of a phone holder, and I guess your best bet is to find something, attach it to the dash or the windshield or maybe one of these vents. My bRED used to have a CD slot, and I had a phone holder that attached in there, and it was just perfect. But I don't know, maybe you can just hide it above here, and it wouldn't rattle around too much with a sticky case. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I've really enjoyed driving this car today. Again, nothing revolutionary here, but just evolutionary. And I like to see a manufacturer do that, because sometimes you can really mess up a formula if you make too many changes all at once. But I think most of the changes here are the right ones. And Toyota's done a really good job tuning, developing, and evolving this car and platform. So well done on them. It's so good to get back into one of these. These are such fun cars to drive. Just look at it. It looks so good. All right, we've got lots of track videos coming for you on this channel and the Winding Road Magazine channel. I don't know how many. I filmed so much today, but hopefully that'll give you guys an idea of what this handles like at the limit, the differences between the base model and this premium with the grippier tires. My perfect GR86 is this, but with slightly less grippy tires. Maybe the Michelin Primacies, maybe a winter tire, have some grip for half the year and then slide it around on some winters in the cold months. That'd be pretty fun. And you know, I'm always harping on manufacturers to do safari versions of their cars. We could get a lifted GR86 one of these days and rallycross it or something. That'd be fun. Probably not gonna happen. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's it for this one. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.